Hey everyone, this is Bo. In this video, we're going to be tackling a desk. The desk is about 5 foot wide, 24 inches deep, and 33 inches tall. It has a fixed shelf on the right for things like a modem, desktop, phone, and then down below that it has a tray for a printer to sit on, and it has a pull-out tray for the keyboard. It is made from oak plywood as well as hardwood oak. And why don't we hang out for the next 20 minutes and I'll show you how it came together. And no, my dog is not dead. He's just sleeping. As with all projects, right, this one started with a trip to the store to buy some wood. In this case, it was 2 sheets of red oak plywood. And then after I got back from the store, I rough cut them all to size on the floor with my track saw. And then here you can see I'm checking my plan, ripping all these pieces to width, making sure I'm ganging up pieces that are going to be the same size. All these stretchers are being cut to width, and the next step is cutting these stretchers to length. This length is what sets the distance between the left leg, the right leg, the center leg. And these legs are also getting hardwood added to the bottom of them, you know, as the desk is going to get slid around from time to time. Definitely want to protect that plywood edge from chipping out. I should also mention all these stretchers that would be visible, like the ones in the very back middle would be visible on the top and bottom, and then the very top stretcher is going to be visible at the bottom. So those also got a hardwood edging added to them. And now to trim that edging, I'm using an L fence here on my table saw to do, I would say 98% of the flushing up of the hardwood. And then I finish that off with a sander. And now we're making some pocket holes in the stretchers to hold the desk together.
Alright, so we finally have all the panels prepped, they're all sized, hardwood edging has been added, we've sanded it all down, filled some of the imperfections, and now we're going to glue this thing up. So we've got just the base of the desk, we've got the 2 uprights that are on the right hand side, there'll be a shelf in the middle with some stretchers, and then we'll have our upright on the far left with a bunch of stretchers holding that in place. So we're going to get out some glue, get out some pocket screws, and some clamps, and we're going to glue this thing up. Here we go.
Yeah, if you're curious, I almost glued that whole thing up backwards. So you're probably wondering why there's like 6 pocket hole screws in each one of those stretchers in the center leg. Um, I drill a bunch of them because when those stretchers come together, I always end up having screws interfering, so I just give myself a lot of options so I can put, 3 screws in each stretcher and they're not going to be interfering with each other. So it kind of looks a little messy, but functionally that's why they're there.
Alright, so the desk structure or carcass is here. It's all glued up, screwed together, dadoed together. After doing some sanding and some other trim work around it, it's now ready to get what is essentially a face frame on the front of the desk here. So I have the desk laying on its back. Got a couple clamps here that I'll use in a moment to hold some of the face frame pieces on, which here I got some face frame stock. It's about 1.5 inches wide by a little over 3/4 of an inch thick. And it's going to act as my face frame material, and it's really just an edge to put on the plywood here. And then the thickness gives it a little bit more rigidity. So I'm going to use the actual workpiece to lay out and dimension all these pieces. There's going to be, of course, the 3 vertical legs, and then 1 long horizontal piece, and then a different horizontal piece to go here on top of the shelf. So here we go. We're going to start laying out some parts and using the miter saw to cut them down size.
After drilling the pocket holes, it's now time to assemble the face frame. And I'm starting with the side that has the fixed shelf on it. And I'm using some spacers to make sure I keep that consistent sizing from top to bottom. You can see at the very bottom I've got a piece of wood clamped in there. And that's to keep everything nice and square and straight as I glue and screw this thing together. Alright, so now I'm cutting some biscuit slots in the face frame, and these help with alignment when putting the face frame onto the desk carcass. And I'm transferring the marks of those slots to the carcass, and then I will go ahead here and put those biscuit slots in with the joiner. And I'm making them a little bit longer. I do a couple plunges next to each other to make them a little longer to give myself some wiggle room.
Alright, so I have the face frame constructed and clamped onto the carcass. As that glue was drying, I was working on a pull-out drawer for a printer. And inside the cabinet carcass, I had to add some strips of wood that would make the the drawer slides flush with the face frame. So I've done that. Those are made a little complicated with a little overhang that hangs over top of the drawer slide and kind of conceals it from view. The pull-out drawer itself is pretty simple. It's 2 pieces of hardwood that have a big rabbet cut in them, like such, that hug this piece of 3/4 inch plywood. And then on the back there'll be just a hardwood strip that'll conceal that. The rear edge, and then the very front will have a false front, which is really just a piece of hardwood that will look similar to the face frame, and that will get glued. And then I drilled some pocket holes in the bottom side here, if you can see them down here. That will then attach the false front with some glue, of course, to the shelf, and then I'll glue to the little side runners. So this is all cut and sized and ready to go. So I'm going to glue this up, and then I think I'm going to call it a day. Here we go. Alright, so the desk is out of the clamps from attaching the face frame. It's all looking good. I did a fair amount of sanding, a little bit of gap filling around some of the where the face frame met the desk. And then I also created a couple other things. We got the printer slide out tray here, and there's also the keyboard tray sitting there kind of in the background. But what I'm going to turn my attention to now is mounting this printer tray. And the printer usually sits stored back inside here, but when you need to access the top, which is the scanner, you can slide it out, open the top up, scan your documents, and slide it back in. So this is going to get hung on 20-inch drawer slides, and I'm going to start working on that next. Here we go.
So one thing I haven't talked about at all in this video is actually the piece I'm working on right here, and it's essentially a false back for the area that up on top of the fixed shelf. So there's gonna be like, the cable modem, the router, there's a speaker on there, some other stuff. Maybe even the desktop tower will go in there. It has a lot of cables and a lot of mess kind of associated with those cables. So this is, like I said, a false back. All the cables can feed underneath it. I mounted a surge protector on the back side, so everything could plug in there, and then just the surge protector would run down to the outlet. For the finish on this desk, it's starting out with a trans tint dark mission brown and water mix applied with a foam brush, and you'll see that go on, and it's kind of cool to watch the time lapse and watch that all the water evaporate off and leave that kind of gray brown color behind. And then the next step is applying a dark walnut Danish oil to this whole piece, letting that dry for 3 or 4 days, wiping off all the oil every day just to make sure it's all off of there, and then finally applying 2 to 3 coats, depending on the part of the desk, of General Finishes polyurethane.
So the desk is finished. It's got all the stain and the polyurethane all applied. It is dry. The one thing I did forget to do before I got to this point was I meant to drill a couple of holes for some wire grommets and for wire management in the top, as well as this lower shelf. Completely blanked on it, so now I'm going to be doing it after finish, which shouldn't be a problem as long as the drilling of the holes goes okay, because the grommet will cover up any type of a little bit of tear out here in the surface. So I'm going to drill these holes for the grommets, and then I'm going to finish assembling the keyboard pull-out tray, as well as the keyboard, or I said it wrong, the printer tray, and then as well as the keyboard tray, just make sure that all works and functions as expected, and then take it back apart and get ready for transport. So here we go.
So that wraps up this desk project. I appreciate you hanging out for the last 20 minutes and seeing how this build came along. If you like this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up. That'd be great. And if you don't want to miss my future content, make sure you subscribe. As always, thank you for watching and have a good one.